And away we go. Haven't done that one in a while. Welcome back, fellas. Welcome back, Leatherhead Nation. Welcome to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast. This is the only podcast in the whole wide world that brings the firehouse kitchen table and salty guests like we got tonight to you, fellas. As always, I'm joined by, my friend Jameson, by Ruffy Raffrano, Lieutenant Raffrano, 103 Ladder Company, Lot 288, Ladder 117, blah, blah, blah. Producer Pete of the television industry. And we got a very
releasing the Kraken tonight, bro. Releasing the Kraken.
Tonight we have one of them there educated fellas here who's going to teach us a lot. First of all, he's going to teach us how he got a mustache like that, because I don't think I can grow that on my best day.
I tried.
But before we get to him, Pete, before we get to our very special educated guest, why don't you give us a little rundown of what we're sponsored by tonight, fella?
Well, as always, ladies and gents, we're sponsored by GettinSaltyApparel.com. That's right, the place to find all the coolest firefighter apparel and accessories on the market. Don't be fooled by the competitors out there. They don't have the first do at your old lady's box t-shirt. No. And the soon to come out first do at your old lady's bushfire t-shirt.
Burning bush or
whatever.
It's a hot shot shirt. Hot shots. Wilderness firefighters. First do at your old lady's burning bush.
Guys, we're working on it. So hats, t-shirts, shot glasses, all that great stuff. And you know what, guys? It just occurred to me next week is Thanksgiving. That means Black Friday. That means Christmas is right around the corner.
Holy crap.
Ooh, hit us up because my kids need to eat. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, head on over to www.gettinsaltyapparel.com and support my kids. See y'all later.
Sweet. All right. Before we get to our guest, Pete, what might the word of the day be?
I would have never guessed it, but tonight's word of the day is stache.
Stache.
A salud.
Without further ado, I see you guys in the chat know who he is already. Mr. Bobby Pressler.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Hello.
Chief Clayhouse says you're looking good.
Who? Chief Clayhouse said that, Bob. You're looking good.
How are you, Chief?
That's Dish. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We think we're going to learn a lot tonight. We were chatting a little bit in the pre-show.
It was a long time coming, trying to get together here.
It has been a couple of months trying to get together, but finally we got it done.
Well, our talent coordinator, a.k.a. Ruffy, got it done. All right. You scratched another. Let me see the list. Where's the list? It's right next to your desk. I know it. There it is. He's got the list. Scratch Pressler off the list. There you go. There's the list.
Oh, my God. Well, as a matter of fact, guys, I got to say, when I think of firefighter, when I think of the picture of firefighter, I think of a guy like Mr. Pressler here with that stash. My God. There's some photos of you we have, sir.
The word. He said the word.
I said it. I didn't even realize it.
Pay attention.
Thank you. Yes, I'm already screwed up. But anyway, I've never seen a saltier looking gentleman. Pardon to all of our previous guests. This man is
kind of looks like our guy, actually.
I think we might have stole something from Mr. Pressler.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's where we originally got it from.
Let's see.
Maybe.
There it is. It's a 1-to-1.
Did you have the chops like that, Bob, back in the day, or no?
Oh,
the sideburns?
Not quite like that.
All right.
But I did shave this morning. It just comes back every day. I'm not sure.
Shaved it clean this morning. He's like Homer Simpson. He's like that guy with the broom. Remember that little guy with the broom with the mustache?
Yeah.
Blow it, go flying up. All right, so let's dive right in. Let's go back. Let's turn back the clock to 1972, where Mr. Pressler started as a young volunteer in Cresskill, New Jersey? What?
Yeah, Cresskill, New Jersey. Town I grew up in. My dad was he was a police officer in the town. He was in a fire department, and they had a junior program. So when he used to run the junior program, I'd go down with him, but I was 10 years old. And when I came 16, I joined the juniors, ran around, couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And then by the time I was turning 18, they changed the state law. You could become an interior firefighter. So as soon as I turned 18, I joined, and that kind of started it. Started going to schools, taking all the classes you could. Very slow department, though.
Mhm.
100 runs a year, one fire, whether you needed it or not. But they were progressive for back then. 1967, they bought a 100-foot quint because they felt that might be the only thing that would get out by the DPW workers.
Right.
So they bought one truck that could do everything. And I remember I went to the American La France factory to see it being built by train, which was a heck of a trip. And the thing I remember most about this cavernous factory is the way they did the wiring harness back then. And what they had was plywood laid out with nails in it. And depending on what fire truck you were running the harness for was what nail you circled.
What?
And I remember this guy with the thing of wire going, ladder truck.
Back then, they were only $100,000 back then. Now they're like,
oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. But, so that was the start of it. And then, I stayed very active with it. And like I said, went to the drills, went to the meetings. Was pretty fortunate. Someplace 74, 75. I saw a report from Engine Company 82. I used to go to the firehouse on the subway and run up Intervale Avenue to the firehouse and ride.
No shit.
And run back to the train, take the train home.
Really?
So
those guys up there let you ride?
What's that?
Those guys up there let you ride back in the day?
Yeah. They took pity on me. They said if I was stupid enough to run to the firehouse, they'd let me stay, So that was pretty educating, and I stayed there until I got on a job. I used to go ride there occasionally.
You said that you went to, before in the pre-show, it was pretty funny. We told you to hold up because we didn't want to hear the story. But you said you went to school. Where did you go to school?
Oklahoma State.
And where did you stay? Where did you sleep?
So 1972, my father was a police officer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Not a ton of money. I got accepted at Oklahoma State at the last minute. I lived in a firehouse. They had a living program. Every third night you were on duty.
Oh, really? You didn't say that before? No shit.
Oh, yeah. That was the trade-off. It's $50 a month for food.
$50 a month.
3 times a day. And whatever you could steal out of the refrigerator any other time.
Seagoing.
Oh, absolutely. And there was people from all over the country. And one of the things that was real neat, there was a guy from Alabama, Albert Dawes. And Albert was a little different, coming from Alabama. And this was the time of the anarchist cookbook. So we're sitting watching college football one Saturday, and there's this muffled explosion out of the kitchen. And the door opens, and in comes Albert with no eyebrows, his hair straight up. And his drawer going, it went off. It went off. So he was trying to cook a bomb, and it worked as advertised. It just went a little early.
Went off in his face.
So that was my first experience with rural firefighting. We covered a whole county out of one firehouse. But the biggest thing I always remember about the Stillwater Fire Department when I went there is they carried a pre-charged 1.5 inches.
Really?
Pre-charged 1.5 inches.
Yeah. 200 foot of 1.5 inches, coiled in the back. Instead of having a full bed of 2.5, one of those was 200 foot of 1.5 inches with water in it.
No shit.
And they said they could carry more water. And you could get water on the fire quicker.
What do you think about that?
Everyone that walked through that place said, what
the hell are you talking about?
How heavy was that thing?
That was their standard until they had a rash of fires on the second floors of buildings.
Yeah, you ain't carrying that shit up
and then they realized this is pretty stupid.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. You go to college and you get to stay in the firehouse on your off time and then go to school. Who would sign up for that, man?
How many other guys were doing that? Were you the only guy doing that? Or
25, 24 a semester.
No shit. So there's that many guys doing that.
Oh, it was a huge firehouse, wide open, second floor dorm. And then, every semester, a couple move out, they find housing or they go get an apartment. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting experience, especially because people from all over the world,
Yeah,
no
sure.
official training. It was like, okay, right there.
I've never heard that before. That's a great story, man.
What do we do when we get there? Oh, you'll figure it out. You grab that heavy line and try to get it.
You wrestle that thing on the lawn. Yeah, wrestle that thing on the lawn.
Yeah. It was my first true experience with fog nozzles. I'd had a couple of fires, but we had a real good fire. And, now some of my teaching got in the way of me thinking other people thought like me. And I get to the top of the stairs. It's a story and a half. Whole second floor is going, and I hear some windows break, and I go, oh, good, they're venting. I'm going to be able to walk right through this. Well, no one was venting. And as soon as I opened the line, I got burned, so end up walking around campus for 2 weeks with a turban on my head.
With no ears.
Yeah, there was no one breaking anywhere. There was no one doing anything. They were all just waiting for someone to go upstairs and try to put this thing out. So I lasted 2 years there. It was probably the longest 10 years and 2 years of my life. Because Oklahoma is a little different.
Yeah, sure.
Did see some neat things. We got off from class the one day, Friday, and went to the local bar to start the weekend festivities. And they come in with a breaking story of a gas well explosion.
Oh, boy.
So we go to the guy behind the bar. How far is that? He goes, probably 200 miles. We'll go, all right, where do we get a case of beer? We're not going to be back till Monday.
200 miles.
So we get in the car with a case of beer and off we go. And
it was still burning?
Remember, about 20 miles away, you could see the glow in the sky.
No shit.
And then about a mile away, you could start to hear this thing.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And what had happened was when the well blew, most times it blows everything away, so the flame goes straight up. This one didn't destroy the whole platform, so it was blowing it down. It was just a big fireball out in the middle of the field. So we end up staying there. Next morning, we get up and Red Adair's team comes in, the Hellfighters. And that was pretty neat. So we're talking to this guy. So this is 1973 probably. And we said to him, how do you put these things out? We're in the middle of nowhere. He goes, well, first we got to build a lake. Then we have to get water to fill the lake. So we can put water on it so we can get the machinery and everything out of the way. And then we'll blow it up with dynamite. Right.
They blow it out. Right.
And we're like, how long does this take? He goes, oh, this is probably a good 2 weeks. So $1973, right? So we said to the guy, how do you charge for this? He goes, when you call and say, hey, we have a gas well fire, the guy takes a thing and hits the timestamp. It was $10,000 an hour.
What?
Oh my God! Back then,
it's holy man!
1973. The guy goes, "Yeah, it's $10,000 an hour," and the clock just runs till we're done.
I watched those guys do the wellheads in over at in Iraq. When they were doing and all that in Kuwait. See what those guys do when those things are just how they get those out too. Like they got really good at those, they figured out how to do it. And it
was tremendous. We couldn't stay because, like I said, they were in the middle of nowhere. There was no water. They had to build a pipeline. I mean, this guy laid the whole thing out, and he said, yeah, we're going to be here at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So $10,000 an hour, they're probably taking this sweet ass time too.
It was one of them things you couldn't hurry it anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You can't. What are you going to rush?
What are we going to do? Shave an hour off?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. But that was interesting. The brush fires in Oklahoma, they'd get field fires. They had a brush truck that you'd be doing 55 miles an hour down these dirt roads, and it would pass you, being pushed by the wind.
Really?
And they actually had a guy killed a couple of years before we get out there in a brush fire. So it was a completely different place. So 2 years was more than enough to be there.
They had it. Any tornadoes or twisted while you were there?
So I learned about the green sky. So they say before a tornado, the thunderstorms, but it gets this green sky.
Really?
And one day we're up in the drill tower, because we figure we can see any tornado coming. And sure enough, we see the green sky, and it didn't hit us, but it did hit a couple of miles away. But the best tornado story is we're coming home one year, driving back east, and got the radio on, and beep, beep, beep. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for someplace, wherever the hell we were. And we're like, I wonder where that is. And we go around a little bend in the highway, and the next sign says right there. So
you are here.
Oh, good thing the highway's going due east. And we look off to the left, and sure enough, there's the sky turning green and starting to stuff down.
Really?
And we're like, well, hey, as long as it stays over there. We go 3/4 of a mile, and the road goes like this.
Yeah, right at it.
Now we're going right at it.
Holy shit.
So it starts raining, and the guy I'm driving with goes, hey, I'm going to try to get off to the side of the road because you can't even see the windshield wipers. Oof. It's raining that hard. So we bounce off the road, and we come to a stop. We have no idea if we're on it. We don't know where we are. We just know we're not on the pavement anymore. And it rained like that probably for 15 minutes. And then it started slowing down. And as it's slowing down, it's starting to get light behind us. There's a tractor trailer about 2 feet off our bumper that did the same thing we did. He never saw us. We never saw him.
Wow.
There would have been some surprise.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but no direct tornado hits, which was kind of fine with me. But it was an education. It was an education going out there. Got an engineering degree. I'm an engineer. I can drive a train, I guess. But fire protection engineer. So, and then when I left there, I went to work for an alarm company waiting to take a fire department test.
Which would be Summit, New Jersey.
I ended up in Summit, New Jersey. Yeah. So they gave a chief's test, right? It wasn't a civil service. So they said it's going to be based on the ARCO books. So what do you do when you're told about the ARCO books? I go right out to the store, buy the brand new edition, edition 14, ARCO fire questions.
Cliff notes.
I do that entire book. 3 weeks before the test, I'm tired of doing the same book. I go, let me go to the library. Maybe they got the 13th edition. I run down the library. They have the 11th edition. I'm going, everything's going to be outdated, but the question, the way they ask them is going to be the same. So sure enough, I get out the book. I do 5-6 tests in it. I go to take the test. I sit down. I look at the first page, look at the second page again. I guess I'll be checking alarms for the rest of my life. I turn to the third page and I go, wow, hey, that's a familiar question. They took 25 questions word for word out of the 11th
library. I was going to say the library book, right?
So I started with the 25, and the guy in the picture, Bill Murphy, he was number 2, and he was a school teacher, smart as a whip, and he always wanted to know how I got a higher test mark than him. And I finally one day told him, I said, I cheated.
Is that you on the right?
What's that?
That's you on the right?
Yeah, with that smirk.
Yeah, a smirk on his face.
The smirk, and he didn't have that stash.
Oh! Look like you're doing a little pole dance in there. I don't know what's going on over there.
That might have been one of the few fires I went to while I was in Summit.
For 76 to 79 in Summit?
Yeah, 3 years, 20 days, 4 hours, 18 minutes. I was there for.
Couldn't get out of there fast enough.
But when I went there, they had a tiller. They had an old Maxim tiller with the half windshield. So I learned how to tiller.
That's cool.
And the best fire I caught there, middle of February, snowstorm, going down Broad Street with the half windshield that protected your navel. Didn't do a thing.
Yeah, right. You can't see shit, right?
Snowing like crazy with the blow in front of us. Real good 3-story wood frame, firewall, 3 floors. So the tillering was good, but they finally replaced the tiller. But right before they replaced it, there was a guy named Joe Pecca, and he drove the front of it from the day they got it. That's the only job he did. Well, the new chief decides that he has to learn how to drive the back.
Oh, bad move.
And Joe Pecca could not drive the back of it. So what did he finally decide to do? Shows you some ingenuity. So when they pull up in front of the firehouse, he'd swing out the trailer, He'd hit the stop button. He'd get out. He'd go stand in the ladder and reach over the half windshield.
Or do it the other way.
And drive it in.
Because it's reverse, right? It's tough to remember, right?
So there it was. He was just going forward.
Right.
But it was the only way he could put that thing away.
That's freaking funny.
So yeah, it was a pretty interesting place. Got yelled at a lot. Used to fight. The chief was retired out of West Point.
Oh boy!
So he tried to run the place like West Point. Yelled at me the one day. He's giving me a hard time, and the deputy, who everybody warned me about, who turned out to be the guest guy in the place, said, "Oh, you disrespected him the other day at a fire." I'm like, "I disrespected him?" Well, he said he told you to pick up a line and you turned around and walked away. I said, "No, I turned to tell the guy in the pump to shut the line down." He goes, "I knew it was something like that." I go, I got to talk to him about this. He goes, no, just let it go. I go, "No, I can't let it go." So I go into his office and I'm like, "How did you come up with this? I disrespected you." "Well, you walked away." I said, "I went to tell Joe to shut the line down." "Well, yeah, you shouldn't." So back and forth. Now he's trying to dismiss me and I'm pissed. So he takes his plant into the bathroom to water it, and I follow him into the bathroom. Now I'm yelling at him in the bathroom.
What a plant.
So the deputy finally hears it and comes in and goes, "I'll take care of this," and gets me out of there. So I had a long year and a half there with that guy.
Mm.
But luckily enough, I knew New York City was putting on a class. I had some trouble with my investigator.
Oh,
like what kind of trouble?
Could you describe the ruckus?
Well, my address was in New Jersey. And he says, "I need a New York address." And I'm telling him, the day you tell me I have a job, I'll tell them my address because they're going to fire me.
Right.
And this went back and forth. So I almost missed the class. And then I end up with someone that helped me out a lot over my career. He made a phone call, and the next thing you know, I'm going to make the next list. But in between, I get called for Jersey City.
Ooh, nice.
So now Jersey City's starting. They're supposed to announce the New York City one on Thursday. Jersey City starts on Monday.
Ooh.
So luckily, again, made a lot of friends over the years. They told them I was skiing and they couldn't get a hold of me, and they held the spot for 3 days.
Nice.
And then I made the New York list. So I ended up going in.
Good things for good people, Bob. Good things for good people.
Sometimes stuff works out right, Yeah. And if I hadn't made that list, I would have been a Jersey City fireman for 6 weeks. Because I probably still would have gone, but who knows,
Right.
Yeah.
Because once you start, so who knows? But it ended up being pretty good. Probie school, most people hated it. I thought it was a blast. We had a good time. We got in trouble there too. They sent me and a guy, John Cronley, to one day to stock the burn building. And we said, "How big a fire they want?" I go, "Do whatever you want." Well, we were the first ones to melt the paint off the shutters. So they weren't real appreciative of that.
What class was that, Bob?
It was the February 24th class of 79. So it was the third off the list, I think.
And we know who was in that class, Pete.
Oh, a special man.
Special call for a special guy who was in your class.
Who might have a little trouble with something.
I have a problem with that mustache. Oh!
Stand by. It was this gentleman right here.
"I'm Chief Steve. I'm here to inspect. That better not be fear on your breath. Line up in order. Dress right, dress. Go get a comb. Your hair's a f***ing mess. Proper uniform is what I'm here to see. No getting salty shirts. They won't get past me. 'Cause I'm Chief Steve."
Oh, yeah.
I did meet a few of them over my career.
Hey, what would Chief? I have to ask you this. This is serious. How the hell did you get away with that mustache and not have to cut it off when the Chiefs came by?
Because luckily, most of my career was in the Bronx where no one gave a shit.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Back then,
Nobody
cared. Nobody cared back then.
And
the chief would show up in his pajamas, for Christ's sake. You kidding me?
So they did go to RESCUE3 one time and tell us that, we were getting real borderline. And, we had the big cartoon character on the side of the rig. Well, the original one didn't have a mustache, but by the end of the day, that one had one too. So when I was in 44, there was a chief that was very
mustachy. Yeah.
And what we told him is we can either tuck it in like this when we work, or we can wax it straight up like this because it couldn't go by the edges.
Yeah, right. The edge of the mouth.
Said, if you want us walking around, I'll trim it right to my eyes. And at the end of the day, push it back down. And most times they'd laugh and they just leave you alone. So sometimes things worked out right.
You were also in the same class as one Hank Mollet in there.
Yep. There was a lot of good firemen in that class.
He's in there. He's in the chat right now, Hank.
All is well.
He said we had a great group.
Yep. A couple of us still working. Like you said, there's a few.
There's a couple of those.
Age, 79. My plan was to stay to 2011. I would have worked in 5 decades.
Holy crap! That's what my brother said, for crying out loud.
Yep.
That's what he said. He wants to be 70s, 80s, 90s.
Well, he'll be in 6.
He's a 6th-decade firefighter. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted to get to.
He made it.
We have a practical question from the chat. This is coming from a female, Miss Susie. How do you kiss with that thing? She wants to know.
After I get the food out of the way, it's time out. I have dinner here,
Little dessert.
Yeah,
nice.
the same way I drink beer.
As a flavor saver, that's all.
We call it the French tickler. The French tickler.
It's the tickler.
So you get out at 79 and you go to 255, 157, which is a great house.
Nice.
How did you get over there?
My original plan was to go to the Bronx or to Harlem. But because I had so much trouble with my investigator, this guy made a stink about it after I got on the job because someone in the union actually told him to mind his own business. And proper way of saying it. I wasn't of the same authenticity as he was, and he was doing that to a lot of people, it seemed like. So he made us think that the union was representing somebody that wasn't on the job. So I figured I should be safe. My address was in Brooklyn, so I should just take a company in Brooklyn.
Right.
Well,
so
turned out all right there.
A lot of the real busy companies were full. 255 had an opening. They were just starting to get entertaining, let's say. And it was the place to go. And now it's still one of the premier places on the job. It's still doing great down there.
They consistently do work over there, man, all the time.
So, it was a nice start. It wasn't what I wanted, but I went there with 3 other probies. And that's, there's a couple of great stories about those guys too. But it was a good place to break into to learn the job. Had young guys, had senior guys. Everybody wanted to be there. There's one guy, Gus, and I can never pronounce his last name even when I was there with him, Wasinus. I always tell people Gus had 90 years on when I got there. Always walking around with his coffee cup, but he was that steady, never said much, but when he said something, you listen.
Right.
And back then they were still doing the alarms by bell every pay.
Right, you'd have to read it out, right? Yep.
Right, so you'd sit there, bing, 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 bing. So we're sitting in the kitchen, and one of the guys I went to probie school with, Lamont Hargrove, who, believe it or not, is the only guy I ever knew that left the fire department to go back to be a cop.
Wow.
Yep, not many.
No.
Wow.
But Lamont's on watch, and 9 o'clock, all units be advised, are going to be using the bells for the next 3 hours. Well, as soon as they say that, they give out a box for $290 and $103.
Nice.
And they give a 1075.
Imagine that.
That shit shop.
Within 2 minutes, they give out another box, and it was probably for $283 going the other way, and there's the 1075. So now it's just constant bells, and Gus is sitting in the kitchen, drinking his coffee, and they start the relocators. Well, the relocators was 15 bells, then 2 companies. And he goes, oh, the engine's got to run. And we walk out, and there's poor Lamont. All he's doing is writing numbers. He's got a blackboard this big filled with numbers. And we're going, Lamont, you go, shut up.
I'm trying to count.
Lamont, I'm trying to count. You got to run, huh? And he looks up and goes, oh, engine's got to run. So that lasted probably 2 years.
So he took all the pressure off you.
Yeah, well, companies were missing runs, so they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Same with the voice alarm.
Oh, look at that fella.
This is 255, right? This is your first job, you said?
So this is my first overtime tour, my first multiple alarm. So I get sent to 281 engine on overtime. So I'm a salty 7-8 months in the job now. And the 2 other kids on the rig have less time than me. And we have a salty guy from 239 engine with 10 years on. That's our 4th man.
Goodness gracious.
And a covering officer.
I was going to say, how was the boss?
Holy shit.
Absolutely.
All the stars are lining up.
So they send out a box for Flatbush and Church for fire in a store. We're the 3rd due engine. So off we go. And when they gave out the assignments, he gave the 2 young guys from 281. They were the nozzle and backup. I was 3rd. And the guy from 239, he's giving them the night off. He's the 4th man. But he tells us, if we go to a good fire, I might bring him up to the nozzle and everybody else just back up. I'm like, I don't care. I'm on overtime, 15 hours overtime. So we go to this fire, and you can't see Flatbush Avenue. They can't find a fire store. They can't even, they're in the right building. It's a 2-story taxpayer. You can't see the rigs. Guys are getting off the rigs, guiding the rigs up into in front of the building.
No
They're
shit.
cutting gates. They got 1 gate open. They got a line in there. So he yells, everybody back once. He wants us all to go back. So now I'm the last guy on the line. So we stretch it 2.5. We go to the next store in line. They open up the store. We got the fire store. So with that, because they couldn't tell, you hear all this commotion behind us. Chief of the 4-1 had run around back to try to figure out which store was on fire. And as he came back around, he ran into the back of one of the rigs and knocked himself silly. So they're picking him up, putting him in the chief's car, taking him to the hospital. And we opened up this store, and it goes lights out. So now I got 3 people and a boss in front of me, right? So I'm just trying to start feeding 2.5. And I hear all this yelling and commotion. It's getting hot, and it's screaming, and people banging into it. And all of a sudden, the line starts getting pulled out of our hands.
Back.
Somebody's yanking your back?
Yeah.
Yep.
And next thing I know, I have the nozzle in my hands.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, okay. So I start forward. Guy from RESCUE3, I always remember, goes, hey, give me that. I go, oh, fuck you. This is mine now. So in the door I go. But the funny thing was, because now it's upstairs, it's taken off, the screaming and yelling, it's in 2 stores. It ended up myself, the lieutenant of 147, Pudgy Walsh.
Buddy Walsh.
And one of his guys, we did the whole store by ourselves.
No shit.
And that's me. I came out the back. I'm leaning against the wall behind the place. And after the fire, the lieutenant's yelling at me. Where were you? I go, I had our line. Where were you guys?
I was just going to say, so when the line got pulled out of their hand, those guys were in front of you. Where did they end up?
They all ran. The
Yeah.
2 young kids, they had no idea.
Right,
like I said, I had 8 months on. They had 3, I guess. And
but you had some training. I mean, you've had some training before that.
And when the boss bailed, he went with them.
Right.
Guy from 239, never saw him again. But all I knew, I had a nozzle, and I was gonna go play. So yeah, it was a real good fire. It ended up being a 4th alarm. But like we always kid around, we put out our fire, so I don't know what they were doing in the rest of it, you know.
Was that was your first job on the nozzle, or was it?
What's that?
Was that your first job on the nozzle?
No. First multiple.
First multiple,
yeah. Now, we had a lot of fun in 255 because we had a bunch of young guys, we did a lot of stealing the nozzle between each other.
Uh-huh.
So like if you put it down and you weren't ready and someone was, or they were willing to take the beat and you weren't, you lost. So it was funny. The one day we're in a vacant frame at the top of the stairs waiting for water, and just the way the staircase turns, the nozzle man's having a tough time getting that bend. So I reached up and I pulled the banister down, and I jump up and I tell the boss, "Hey, I got a great shot from it here."
Give him the nozzle. Give him the nozzle.
Oh yeah, and that was good for a couple of motherfuckers. We all did it to each other, but we didn't do it to other companies.
Right.
We did it with each other. It was fine. They'd get back to you. I had a young kid the one night, Danny Dempsey, and he's doing a great job. We called them brownstones because it had the parlor floor. But we got the first floor going front to rear, and he's doing good, but he's getting tired, and he's yelling he needs more line. And the boss, who's kind of halfway behind me, is going, "What's he saying?" And I said, I don't think he can go any further. I think he's panicking. And now Danny's yelling, no,
I didn't say that.
Yeah, he's getting real excited. So Lieutenant Callan's going, "You better take the line." And he's going, no. And I end up with the line for the last half of the first floor.
Nice.
But we always did it to each other, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Ball
Over there,
breaking.
255, 157. Did you see RESCUE3 a lot? I mean, back then they were probably coming from Myrtle and Carlton, right? 210.
Yeah, so it took them a while to get down Flatbush Avenue.
Yeah.
We weren't into the big fires then. We had a lot of one-room stuff, was mostly occupied. We really didn't get the real good fires. That was after a Queen Anne.
Yeah, you guys have some Queen Anne's down there.
Over near 147.
Yeah.
Queen Anne's are just their own animal.
Oh my God, yeah.
Everybody are firing a Queen Anne, it's going everywhere.
Yep.
And you can put 18 lines in a place,
yeah,
but unless you got
in the
people
walls,
opening it up and chasing it,
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that was interesting about that Queen Anne was a little old German lady still in the neighborhood, Polish lady, whatever nationality she was. And all she kept telling the chief was, my refrigerator. So he calls the lieutenant over. We had a covering boss that day. And he goes, she keeps saying, "How's the refrigerator in the kitchen?" We go, "Well, it's burnt to shit like everything else in the kitchen." She keeps talking about the refrigerator door. So we go inside, and the entire door is lined with mustard jars, pickle jars, relish jars. They're all filled with money.
Nice.
That was the bank.
That's why she was talking about the
petrified of banks, depression.
Yeah.
She kept all her money on the door of the refrigerator. So we salvaged like $28,000 out of it.
No shit. That's good, man.
But I always like that picture because look at the way we were dressed.
Yeah, it's a good stuff right there, man.
That's awesome.
Blue jeans, work boots, no hoods.
No.
Hoods? What's a hood?
Hood.
What's the hood?
Yeah, we started wearing them to keep our necks warm. So it's just such a change. But Queen Anne's are tremendous fires. And we get one or two spectacular ones a year. You get a room here, a room there, and then you get the basement one that went to the attic, or the attic one that dropped down the wall.
Yeah, right. Always in the walls. Yeah, always.
Got it underneath you. You're up to going, "Hey, that went well," and all of a sudden it's coming up the stairs underneath you.
Yeah. Now they have multiple staircases in there, right, Bob? Like they have.
They have it in the back.
From one to the first to the third floor. Or something.
The maid staircase in the rear.
Right.
And always real narrow. Because it was just for her. It wasn't like for the family. So you get a good fire in the living room, get up the front stairs. You could sometimes get up them back stairs and get a bedroom off the back staircase.
Right.
But, they were just big bombs, those places.
Yeah, man.
And the worst is, when it was in the knee walls up in the attic and, you're trying to get up there and get the thing opened up. And luckily, like you said, RESCUE3 is coming a long way. So we didn't get them in the staircases that often. But, if you weren't moving, there's at least two more companies trying to come up there with you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And the discipline of keeping the staircases clear, that's something that's discipline on the fire ground is kind of gone. And trying to get people to reinvest in that is very, very hard. My son just got burned pretty substantially in a house trailer of all places. because when he decided it was time to go, he couldn't go because
everybody's lined up behind him. Yeah,
7 other people crammed in behind him.
right.
So they had to hold their position until everybody else bailed out of the place, and then they took their turn. So that discipline is hard to impress on people. That we all want to get every piece of every fire we go to, but sometimes you're not going to get a lot of it. Right. So it's just one of those learning curves. You deal with a lot of young firefighters. Everybody wants to go, go, go. And that's part of that deal. They got to learn that there's always a time to go. But sometimes there's time to take a little bit slower approach. So I started in 255. They let me work in the truck a lot because I had some prior experience. I'm a buff, I rode with a lot of people. I was always looking to learn stuff. I was always showing people stuff that I knew. They were showing stuff that they knew. So I started, riding the truck more and more. I don't think I ended up sending it to you, but I got a picture of me as the OV with the 255 front piece on. So it was good. I had driven fire trucks before. So they sent me I got company qualified. And then I get caught in the time when the union went after the job about getting more people qualified. So the job ends up cutting from 2 weeks to 1 week to make a point, right? So I go out to chauffeur school finally. And right before I ended up going to chauffeur school, we come in one night and the battalion had screwed up the manpower. We don't have a chauffeur. So they look around. They're going to give us a guy from another company that we had once before. And we found out that they won't even let him drive in his company. So they'll always give him to somebody else. We basically told him to keep him.
Of course.
I told the officer, I said, I'll tell you what, Lieutenant McGlynn, I said, you order me to drive, take a mark in the book. I'll take a mark in the book underneath you under protest. I'm driving, and we'll go through the night. It's not our fault. The battalion screwed up the manpower. So, I don't know, 9 o'clock at night, phone rings. They go, it's a Brooklyn delegate. What's up? He goes, I understand you're driving tonight. I said, there was a screw up with the manpower. They were going to close us and disperse us around the rest of the borough.
That's crazy.
We wanted to stay for 255 to protect them and the people at Flatbush. Well, this is a pretty important thing. We feel strongly about this with the company qualified chauffeurs. You should go to chauffeur school. I said, I know, I'm going in a couple of weeks. It's a big thing. We're creating a lot of overtime. I go, so it's overtime that's driving this, not the safety of the guys that we're going to leave. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, you want to make a big deal of this? Come to the firehouse right now. We'll call the battalion. You come down. He'll come down. Let's go. I'll get back to you.
I was going to say, that's even money. He ain't showing up.
Yeah. And it's like, I ran into the same thing because I was a volunteer. After we had to turn ourselves in for being illegal aliens, I ended up moving up here to Montgomery, New York. And there was another guy that was in 33 truck that had a run-in with the city of Newburgh guys. And they sent a letter to the union, and they didn't want career guys that were volunteers coming into the city of Newburgh. They always had a fight over manpower. They always had staffing issues. So they didn't want, union brothers coming in. I said, you know what? That's fine. I will never go to Newburgh on a fire truck. Well, one day I get a call. This is so-and-so from the union. I understand you're a volunteer in Montgomery, New York. I go, yes, I am. He goes, we feel strongly that you shouldn't do that. I go, well, I don't go to Newburgh. I won't go to Middletown. They're career places. But, Montgomery's my home, so I volunteer. Well, we don't think you should. I said, well, let me ask you. I said, don't you think that the other 20 city firemen that live up here, their families deserve a little fire protection when they're at work? I said, and if you ever came up here and organized a career department in Montgomery, New York, I'd be the first one to resign. But until then, stop bothering me. Yeah. And it's stupid stuff like that. Don't you have something better to do?
I was just going to say, that's what you're concerned about? Out of all the stuff you should be concerned about, that's what you're worried about?
So I ended up, after I got hurt, I stopped going around to Montgomery there for a while, and they sucked me back in. And, next thing you know, I was an assistant chief, and then I became chief of the fire department, which was very interesting. The best part about it is they gave me a chief's car, and I could go to anything I wanted.
So you didn't get any phone calls, is what you're saying.
Well, what was neat is, I've been taking pictures of fires for a long time. Guys like to steal them for advertising.
I might have done that once or twice. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's how we actually met.
Allegedly. Could have happened. Maybe happened. I don't know if it happened.
Yeah, allegedly. So I used to pull up and open the chief's car door and hold up my camera and my helmet, and they would point to which one they wanted.
Nice.
So I went to a lot of fires that Montgomery might not have gone to, allegedly. But I had kind of free reign. So it was a lot of fun. This is Walden, a little city near us. Used to go to some spectacular fires. This was the second. We had two of them about 14 hours apart. Apartment House and the Queen Anne. Wow. So two real good fires. The only
how about this one? This is a special one.
Yeah. So the 29 white with red numbers, that's Timmy Klett. He's a lieutenant in 88 engine. That's his son Connor to the left of him. And that's me next to Timmy, and my son Michael next to me.
Nice.
So awesome. We had a chance to go to a decent fire together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's the thing that keeps me going right now. I get to ride with my son. He's making a name for himself. He's in Wilmington, Delaware. And any chance I get to do something with him is a lot of fun.
That's great.
Is he in a paid? That's a volley department or a paid department?
That's a paid department.
Oh, good for him, man. Good for him.
Yeah, it's a tough little place. It's per capita, they're averaging 2 shootings a day now for a city of 70,000 people.
Holy shit.
They got the vacants. They got everything. They go to small fires. They don't go to a lot of big fires. But it's an interesting place. They fight with the city. They just lost their shift. So a lot of problems there. But it's a decent place to work.
Bob, I say all the time, I'll take singles all day long. I don't need the home runs.
Absolutely.
I keep going around the bases. You know what I mean?
Yep. Hey, you know what?
I
tell people now, for me, these are all bonus fires.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I had one career that ended.
Yeah.
So when I got hurt in 91, they found me in respiratory arrest.
Ooh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is all
gravy.
It's all gravy for you, kid.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. He's right.
Gotten a lot smarter since then. So I'm smartening up now too. Getting too old to do this shit. So, I can see the light at the end of the
Bob,
tunnel.
you know what I wanted to ask you too? I mean, you have to work with your son, but you said you actually work with your dad. Did you ever catch a job with your dad when you were volleying back then?
Yeah. So he was the chief and I was the lieutenant or captain. So we went to a couple of fires together, but the thing in Rescue,
you go do this. You go do that.
It was the original bedrock. We didn't get a lot of fires, but we did go to a couple together.
That's cool. So now you get to go with your son. That's awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Great.
It's nice. So my only down thing in Montgomery is that a guy killed in the line of duty while I was chief.
That sucks.
Run over in front of the firehouse.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to talk about just a sad set of circumstances, he was the head of the commissioners, so very, very into it. I always said he was the voice of reason. We were a fire district, so we had 5 commissioners that we dealt with. And he didn't give you everything he wanted, but he was the guy that listened to everything, So he lived right across the street from the firehouse. And we kept telling him, stay out of the road. Don't stop traffic. So we get called out for a cover assignment. And because of that, no lights or sirens. You're just going to get in a fire truck and drive to somebody else's firehouse. And Charlie gets out in the middle of the road and stands in, tries to stop traffic coming up the hill. But in the winter, the sun sits on the top of the hill. And a lady coming up the hill saw the fire truck, but there's no lights. So she didn't pull over. She ran him right over.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
I missed it by 20 seconds.
Really?
I just pulled out, and I was heading for the relocation. And they called me back. And I heard their voice. I knew something terrible had happened. Oof. We get there. Guys were working on him already in the street. We have volunteer ambulance and paid paramedics, but we don't have one in our area. So we asked for a helicopter right away. We loaded them up on a backboard, put them in a pickup truck, and drove them behind the firehouse to a landing zone. Paramedics got there then, and he lingered for a while, but just too much. And that changed for me. One, it changed the whole commissioner's office, because now the way I looked at it is they were all looking at, all right, who can be in charge next? Cooperation, I felt, went down the ground. We're being scrutinized for everything. And it just affected a lot of people in a lot of ways. So I finished up that year, and then I was taken out. So
That's a shame, man.
Yeah, it was. It was real bad.
You know, Bob, I was crazy with the highway. Bob, we were right on the highway. I was crazy about the highway all the time. It was just, I would constantly, I was like the mother hen. I constantly would talking to guys about traffic. You know what I mean? Until the truck came, or if we were by ourselves, or if the accident was split, you know, one in the left lane, one in the right lane, the middle lane was open. You know, what do you do? You know, how do you? So it's not always easy as just blocking, you know, one traffic or one car. If there's accidents all over the highway, and if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, right? It was always. You know, where I am in Christiana now, we have 95 that runs through the district, and we have Route 1 South, both, you know, 2-lane, 3-lane, 4-lane highways. And we go up there a lot, and it's probably the scariest thing we do. Yeah, it's scary. It is scary. Cars flying by. Trailers, you know, they come whizzing by. The only good thing, the Delaware State Police, they do not care if you shut their interstate down. So we'll shut it down completely. Really?
Johnny Walters in the chat is saying it's all fun and games until you get run over. I guess he would know.
No.
Really, it is, right? I mean, but every day on one of the sites, there's a fire truck getting hit.
Yeah, no, I see it all the time. Emails all the time. Somebody.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, it's a brutal thing, and everyone in the chat, by the way, you know, is giving their condolences even now. And by the way, Tony Buckrup in the chat wants to extend a hello to you, and he spent some time on the show here, and I guess you spent some time with him as well.
Yeah, I'm a world traveler.
Gary, Indiana.
Because there was a photographer, you know.
Yes.
I always felt that, listen, if I go to your fire and I can document you doing something good, it's a great teaching aid, right? If I go to your fire and you do something stupid, it's still a great teaching aid.
Yeah, no doubt.
I have to be more careful how I use it. You know, so Tony was in Gary. You know, Gary, another place, the land that Gary, the land that time forgot.
Yeah.
And, interesting bunch of guys. We always called them the junkyard dogs. You know, that was the junkyard fire department because no one cared about them.
Right.
So Tony's good people.
Yeah, man. We like him a lot, man. Good dude.
All right, let's get back to Bob's timeline here. So after having
sideways a lot,
I'll bring it back.
It's the Jameson.
So 82, you go to RESCUE3 for a short time. Tell us about that from 157.
So I might have still been assigned to the engine, but I have a lot of those that, like I said, without some kind of paperwork.
I've never done this before. I don't know how it happens.
But I knew several guys there through the dispatcher's office and stuff. And RESCUE3 had 4 or 5 guys at the top of the lieutenant's list. So a couple of them suggested to the captain that he bring me over. So he tried to take me as a second-grade fireman, and the Queensboro commander wouldn't let him.
Really?
So when I turned first grade, 2 weeks later, over I go.
2 weeks later. That's crazy.
That's got to be a slap in the commander's grill.
I mean, really great.
So, but pretty interesting because it was a real good lesson I learned that I use today when I do classes with officers. So I'm there a day, and I'm in the back of the rig. I don't have a friggin' clue what I'm doing about anything on this fire truck yet. I know the SUBAs and the tools. I got them down pat. Everything else is a mystery. And we go to some guy down in some hole. It's not hurt. We just got to get him out. So the captain's standing there, and he turns to the chauffeur, his guy, Big John, and he goes, Big John, what do you think? And John goes, well, you know, we can use this. There's some rats in this and this. Oh, okay. Turns to the next guy. What do you think? What do you think? He asks everybody. And he gets to me. He goes, Bob, what do you think? I'm like, I didn't know I could think yet. I'm only here 4 hours, you know? So we get this guy out of the hole, you know, and when we get back to the firehouse, I said to him, I said, you kind of caught me off guard. You know, I've only been here a half a day. He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, but, you know, one of the things, until you learn something about all the people you work with all the time, I don't really know what you did in your previous lives. He said, maybe you just had something that you'd seen before. He says, everybody goes through the world looking at things this way, except for the guy that looks at things this way. He says, so what did it cost me? It cost me 10 seconds to say, you got anything? You said no, we moved on. And I said, that's a pretty important lesson when you're dealing with newer people, you're a covering officer. You know, don't be afraid to, hey, real quick, what do you think? You know, is this something we can do? Have you ever had any experiences with it?
Right.
Off you go.
Yeah, you might not want to dismiss a guy because he's a new guy. He's only got, you know, a day there.
He might do that on the side. I mean, that's what he might do on the side, for God's sake. You have no idea.
And he said that he might have been a stand hog, you know.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't a true emergency. He had that opportunity to do that.
Right. Because it wasn't life and death right there.
So they still had the hazmat unit then. And because of that, it was a kind of the city had run out of money for the hazmat stuff. We'd send stuff out to get fixed. It would come back worse than when we sent it out. And,
sounds about right.
Yeah. And the fires were never near the firehouse. You know,
they're always far away, right?
Always driving down to the Rockaways or Jamaica somewhere.
Yeah, 6 o'clock one morning, rescue goes 1075 Far Rockaway. Oh my God, right. I get on the rig.
45 minutes.
Yeah. So what you guys do? They go, if we make it to the bridge, you can get dressed. Okay. So I sit down and we drive for 25 minutes to get nowhere near the bridge, turn around, come back. Yeah. You know, so we never, at any fire we went to, we were always fighting with somebody. You know, we had a safety chief chasing us around the one day because we had cheaters. I saw that mentioned a couple of times on a few of the shows, you know, those alternate breathing devices. And, you know, he'd come in the front door, we'd run out the back door, we'd go in the next door. In the back door, we'd run back down the front door. So I stayed about 2.5 months. It was a great learning experience. But I went back to Brooklyn. And when I went back to Brooklyn, I finally got assigned to 157. So, and then I started there. I was never the chauffeur, but I was always the relief chauffeur. You know, I was pretty good driving. My dad had taught me how to drive. When they finally sent me to chauffeur school, we go out there. There's my dad.
There he is.
There he goes.
He taught me how to drive a stick shift on a fire truck. So we go out to chauffeur school, and we drive a rear mount around, automatic, you know, put it in D for that away, and off you go. And after lunch, we go out in the tower ladder. And the instructor, who, you know, is a guy out there looking to hide, goes, listen, this is a stick shift. I don't know if you're going to be able to drive it.
Get out of the way, would you?
So it's 3 of us, the instructor and 2 other guys. So I let the other guy go first. And we have some ride to the other end of the island.
Right.
You know, I'm stalled.
Right.
So he looks at me and goes, you want to try? Hey, I'll give it a shot. So, you know, like I said, my dad taught me how to drive these things. Nice. So I get in, go through all the gears, fill them. Here we go. And off we go. You know, double clutch, find the gears. And I look, and they're both staring at me. He goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm driving.
I'm driving here.
He goes, you want a job out here?
Don't do too good.
Absolutely. But, you know, if you're taught the right way,
yeah, sure.
That's one of the things I find now. Everybody wants the gimmick. Everybody wants the new thing. No one wants to learn the basics so that you can do that kind of thing. You know, you look at forcible entry, you go on YouTube.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
There's 20 videos. 10 of them have the forks in the wrong way. 10 have it the right way. And they, I do it that way all the time. That's because you never forced a real door.
Yeah.
You know, you're fighting a spring on a prop. Anybody can move a spring.
Yeah. Right.
And then they're like, what do you mean? If I got to explain that, don't worry about it. You know?
You know what it is, Mr. Pressler? It's the culture. It's the internet's made everything instantaneous and quick and fast, and it's made it easy for people to become experts overnight. And you know what I mean? And some of it's really good. Some of it's great. Like, we're able to have you here tonight. And some of it, is straight trash. But that's the culture it is right now.
The problem is people don't reach out for that other opinion.
Right.
They see it one place, it's got to be it. I'm doing a forced entry class a couple of months ago, and I got 2 Halligans. One has 2 sets of marks on the fork. So I hold it up. I go, so, what are these 2 lines on the forks for? And one guy goes, well, the one is the crotch. And I go, I can see the crotch. Why do I need a line?
Right.
If it's so smoky that I can't see the crotch and I can't see the line either. I said, what's the other one for? Oh, that's for the door frame. I go, so what size frame did they do that for? Residential, commercial, 6-inch, 4.5-inch? And I hold up the other one. It's got a line right in between the first 2. I go, so what's this guy? Can't make up his mind? It's like, don't worry about that stuff.
I know they're so worried about all these little things, right?
Squared shoulders, that's another one. Oh yeah, you can slide it down the shaft to hit it. I go, yeah, but now you want to wrap it in hockey tape and paracord, so it ain't sliding anywhere. And where am I putting my hands?
Yeah, they like that.
It's simple stuff. And that's the thing. They got to stick with the simple shit.
Well, that's what you're teaching these guys, aren't you, when you go around? You're teaching them basic stuff, right?
You know what's funny? I'm teaching the same stuff I started 30 years ago.
That's good.
No need to change it.
No, it works. That's it.
That's the thing. It works. So, but yeah, so I worked in the truck there, had some fun.
How were the guys when you came back, Bob? Did they break? I'm sure they broke your balls, but
typical firehouse, 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Half of them breaking your balls, half of them happy to have you back.
Right.
So it was an interesting place. We had a couple of guys that were very pro-union.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Jersey, so I wasn't a guy to go sick.
Right.
I was always on time. I was a model friggin' employee because I was protecting something.
Right.
So when they were doing the sick outs, I said, listen, I'll go from a fire, but I'm not going from home.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, Well, then you shouldn't work the overtime. Okay, I won't work the overtime.
That was always the common thing, right? If you're not creating, then you can't take.
And we said that's fine. Well, that used to piss them off too.
Yeah.
It's like we're always going to have this. So you know what? It is what it is. So we had one group that pretty much, we didn't go sick that much. We were there to go to fires, have some fun, did our jobs. And whenever we were having that kind of blue flu or whatever you wanted to call it, we wouldn't take the overtime.
Yeah.
We're not creating it, so you guys take it.
Yeah, right.
I remember the first time
way.
One of the guys said that to me, like, listen, it's your turn to tap. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I'm like, what do you mean it's my turn to get sick? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're talking about, Yep. I was like, nah, I'm not sick. I'm not going sick, Well, no, you're going sick.
That's not the way I was brought up.
No.
I can't help that.
No.
That's not the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
So if you don't want me to work the overtime, that's fair.
Yeah, I didn't care. That's what I said to him. Well, they threaten you with that, though. You better not take the overtime. I mean, you go, all right. They don't know what to say.
Right.
They're like, right?
What next?
Yeah.
So it was a fun place to work. We had a lot of bar boxes. So, we never went to bed before 3:00 in the morning. So there was always shenanigans in the firehouse.
Right.
They always told me I got there a little bit too late because 6 months prior, they used to say that the normal routine was the fire get-in was across the street from the firehouse. And after lunch, the boys would go over to do building inspections.
Possibly, allegedly, could have been, maybe.
Allegedly. And the gentleman that owned the establishment had an old AM radio up on the back bar that he would turn on and put off station so it was static, but it would pick up the bells circuit.
Come on.
I love it.
So they were on every 2,400 miles.
Oh, my God. So, I love it.
You hear, they'd all stop. And it'd get to the fourth one, and they'd all stop the building inspection and run back across the street to go to the fire.
That's fucking incredible. I love it.
But it was over by then. When I went there, I think we were just breaking 3,400 runs. It was just starting to be,
Now that's definitely doing more than that now. 255, 255 is probably doing 5,000 or 6,000. I don't even know what they're doing now.
Think so. We weren't doing EMS. We were doing pull boxes out the ass.
Did they have a quick turnout back then too?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Same way now.
Well, that's the one thing, we always talk about the Bronx versus Brooklyn. Brooklyn was a race.
Oh yeah, no doubt. 255 has a pretty. They're up there. I say it all the time.
We said was more gentlemen.
Right.
You didn't cut anybody off getting into the block. If they were first doing, they were
after
there.
you. No, after
no,
you
first.
No, after
no,
you.
you first. No. Oh no, you fuck my sister. Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
No,
My
after
word.
you.
But it was good because there was some real old timers. So I'm riding in the truck the one night, and we got a pull box about 2:00 in the morning, and Joe Materano is sitting across from me. Joe was probably 60 already.
Oh my goodness gracious!
And I'm looking at him, and we're going on a pull box at 2:00 in the morning, right? And he's got his coat on, buttoned up. He's got his
nice
neck strap on. He's got his flaps down. He's the OB on the can. And he's sitting there, gloves on, ready to go to work. And I'm going, look at this guy. I said, this is a friggin' pull box. So it's wintertime. So in that nice, crisp, cold air, he goes to, and I'm curled up trying to go to sleep. He goes, mattress. And I open one eye and go, you want your mattress? You miss your mattress?
He smells it.
He goes, you better get dressed. We're going to a
smells it.
mattress.
Yeah, he smells it.
I go, you're nuts. We're going to a pull box. So 3 blocks later, what do we pull up on? Shitty mattress. I'm working with the captain of Stanley Phoner, and Stanley's gone, and you better be with him. So I took some friggin' shellacking because I didn't have time to get dressed, grab my mask or anything.
Yeah, sure.
Crawling down with the can, Stanley with his hand and going, good job, kid. Keep going. And again, it's one of those lessons. He picked that up on the night air. Just enough of it.
Isn't it crazy how you smell the smells? Whatever it is, brush, paper, electric, whatever it is, you could smell everything.
I always tell the guys up here because of wood stoves. Guys will walk outside, oh, we got a job. And go, that's a wood stove, oh, it smells the same. I go, I never went to a house fire and said, oh boy, wood stove. No. It's just what you get used to smelling.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
He was good.
Fred,
so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, Fred Caramello in the chat, Fred Caramello Jr. in the chat is asking, Pete, ask Bob to tell the story about the most working fires he and the fellows worked in a single 24-hour shift on R3.
So let me tell a quick 255-157 story.
Okay.
Because it reflects on a RESCUE3 fire too, and something that just happened to a friend of mine. So new in the truck, I might have still been assigned to the engine. So before I went to RESCUE4, we go second due. We get to this private house, fire roaring out the second floor front, out all 3 windows.
Love it.
Having trouble getting up the stairs, and they go to somebody stuck in the attic. So we go around back, we take a 35, we throw it up to the attic window, and the lieutenant goes, Bob, go. I'm the youngest guy there, right? So I go up this ladder, I get the attic window out, chugging out the attic window. I'm like, dive in the window, and I land right in the bathtub, which completely baffles me to start. Get out of the bathtub, get out into the doorway. It's at the top of the stairs. He coming up the stairs is pretty substantial. I haven't made the push yet. You got to remember, I got no time on the fire department. I've never been in this position before. I get across the top of the stairs, blacker, hotter. I'm moving forward. I start back. I get to the top of the stairs. It's worse. I go back forward, and I'm trying to decide, can I go or not? And they start yelling at the window, get out, get out, get out, get out. I go back across the top of the stairs. I go across the top of the stairs. In my mind, I saw red starting coming up the stairs, right? I don't know if that's what I told myself, but it was hot enough for that to happen. I end up going out head first out the attic window, climb down, father and son, end up dying in the attic.
Wow.
And I went to Happy Lands too, right? 87 people killed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Didn't lose a minute of sleep.
But
those two guys, yeah.
That's the one I want back. And the reason I tell that story is it just happened to a friend of mine, got on in Philly, and he made a grab the other night, and the girl died. And he got her out alive, but she didn't survive. And, the second thoughts, oh, did I spend too much time in the first room?
Right.
You know, you can only do what you've got yourself programmed to do at that situation. Now, when you got a boss to bounce it off, that's kind of easy. But when there's no one to bounce it off,
Yeah.
right, it's based on you. And it's something you can't teach. It's a comfort zone. You know, we all go to a fire together tonight. We open up the door. You might go 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, 2 feet.
Right. You don't know what you're going to do, right?
And you can't teach that. You know, so today, I think I probably could have gotten the father and the kid.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. I'll never know.
Do you know if there was a door there to close? There was no door at the top?
door.
You don't
No,
know.
they were all the way at the front. Oh, did that again. All the way at the front over the main body of fire. So they were burned, but not bad. But, you know, I don't know when they got burned. But I think today I could have gotten to them. You know, and that's that learning curve.
Yeah.
You know, and you
There's no doubt about that.
Because people always say, Happy Lands, they go, it was a textbook fire except for the 87 dead people.
Yeah, right.
Well, it was out in no time, 45
Right, I was going to say there wasn't much. Wasn't much.
They got it on a heartbeat.
Right.
And by the time we got there, it was out.
Right.
Just a lot of smoke, spot fires, you know. And we found a mezzanine in the back. We had found 5 in the bar area, 1 on the steps, and we're like, well, that ain't bad. And we get to the top, we're thinking we're going up in the platform where the DJ is, you know. In the social clubs, you just put the DJ up and sit up there and watch the dance floor. And, you know, you start crawling over. It felt like garbage bags. It was just people.
Yeah.
You know? And that was sprinklered upstairs. I always like to tell that to the sprinkler people. Oh, yeah, there was 81 dead people up there. That's what the sprinklers were.
All wet.
Jeez.
Right?
Yeah.
And they shut off the sprinklers and the smoke lifted and like, whoa.
Just couldn't get out, like you were saying. If once they jam up the stairwell, that's it.
People can't get oxygen out of the building. The
once you can't get out,
took the oxygen. There was people with drinks in their hands.
Right, they were still sitting. I think people were saying.
They just slumped over.
Right.
You know. So those 2 fires, I always thought of quite the parallel. You know.
You know what I want to ask you, Bob, was do you know if there was when you first went in that window in the back? Did you know that there was a window in the front when you first pulled up? Was there a window in the front?
Because of the fire and the smoke. Because the fire had all the front windows up the whole front of the house.
I mean, if you pass that stairwell, you better make sure, you know, if you're going to the front. I mean, there's no other way. If there's nothing there.
They hadn't gotten water on the fire yet.
Well, even if they didn't, I'm just saying, if you're going to make that move, you have to make sure that you know if it comes behind you, that you have a ways to get out of there. Otherwise, you know, you can't go past that. Right, exactly.
So what do you know now, Bob, that you didn't know then? What would you have done different? Just the uncertainty of yourself back then. You were uncertain.
Absolutely. No one. You know, as a young firefighter, who do you rely on the most?
You.
Well, your officer.
As a young firefighter, who do you rely on?
Oh, your boss.
Your officer.
Your officer. He was in the backyard.
Yeah.
I was up there alone. Another guy came up and yelled in the window to get me out.
Right.
So, you know, it was on me, and I think that's why it's something that I still think about.
Right.
You know, and I think now, especially with the gear we have now, you know, there was blue jeans and friggin', you know, you know the deal. So it was a different time.
Yeah. I actually have a relatable story to that. And Louis was working the job. Do you remember the job that we had down in it was a summer day down in Pollock Alley? There was fire coming out 3 windows. You had the James DeVoe had the nozzle. I had the back out.
I do remember.
Zungero. So we pull up, fire on the second floor, blowing out the windows in the middle of like a Thursday afternoon. So we stretch a line to the second floor. We're about to take the door. Louis taking out the spindles in case we got to roll down. Right? You were just below us on the landing below us, and we're about to open. It was Lieutenant
Ungaro had the nozzle, right?
Yes, Lieutenant Ungaro, and I could hear people, their faint voice on the floor above, an old man and an old woman. And now that I think about it, like I wanted to break off the line and tell Louis to move up and take my position, and even though they were going to open the door, at least make that move to try to get them, because the old man wound up dying. He couldn't get off the landing. But you know, it would have taken maybe 30 seconds for me to go up to the next landing, grab the guy, and drag him down. But like you said, I was a young guy. Do I leave the line? What's the officer going to say to me if I leave the line? You know. But if I had more time, I would say that, and Louis, come up, take my position. I'm gonna dart upstairs for a second.
No, the problem was that was an old law tenement, right? They had the fire was coming out both doors.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the issue too, is because James went into the front door, and then the fire started coming out the back. He wouldn't give me the nozzle. I kept telling him to give me the nozzle.
Yeah,
He wouldn't give it. He wouldn't give me the nozzle.
Get your own nozzle.
Yeah. But it's just that you're unsure of yourself. Should I do this? But you think about it. I think about that all the time, Bob. Like that guy could be alive now. Could have made that grip,
Yep. And you try to tell guys, especially the guys with all the book knowledge, without experience, knowledge is just theory. You read something, you think it's going to work. That's your theory. Until you go out and prove it, it's just a theory that you have. I can read a book on doing brain surgery. It doesn't mean I'm going to go out and try one tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But my theory is I can do it because I read the book. And I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express last night. So you gotta have that mix of the knowledge and put some kind of experience with it. It goes back to that comfort zone we were talking about. My comfort zone, I was at the end of it. There was no one there to give me the little bit extra I needed.
Right.
I didn't have enough of it to do it on my own,
Well, that was the common theme is with all of our guests is that they have a lot of experience, right? Not years, but just through the job and the amount of jobs that they went to. Even for myself, listening to you guys, I feel like I went to a pretty good amount of jobs, but it's nothing compared to what you guys went to. So that's how you get. How do you train people today that aren't getting the numbers? They're just not getting the numbers of fires. That's the issue.
Well, you have to go back to live fire training in so many places. That one picture that I had, we did that. We burned a hospital, and by the time you deal with the safety sallies and all the things you can do, should do, can't do, you got to have realistic fires, because the first fire they go to can't be the first fire they go to.
Right.
What do you expect? Right?
Yeah, Pete. We had
the firefighter killed.
Which one, Bev?
I think we had the picture of the training fire that they had.
The chunky monkey one.
Yeah. I got the big chunk. Here it is. Boom.
That's a fire that you set.
Yeah.
Train.
Yeah. I read that. So we're burning a hospital. Friends of ours that we had met through the FDIC says, would you guys come down? We got a hospital we can light fires in. So we go there the first day, and I only do live burns with a very small group of people. We don't let anybody come play because we take it very seriously. We have a pretty good track record. We're not going to screw that up. I mean, if you're doing this and putting a kid on the nozzle that might never have gone to a fire, you better hope you got your act together, right?
Yeah, man. Yep.
So the first fire of the day, we're doing a first floor hallway, a room at the end of the hallway.
That's pretty nasty.
Yeah, this is the second day.
I'm just saying.
So the first fire, we've got a 2-room little suite going, and the line never comes. And we do a roll call. Attack line ready, backup ready, first due truck, second due truck. Okay, we're lighting. And the way we light our fires, within 30 seconds, we get to that.
Wow.
And that's the other thing. So we don't worry too much about it getting into the building. We burn wood frame houses. It's a skill. And the guy that taught me is very good at it. So anyway, we get this place. And the first fire, no one ever comes to. So I had the safety line. I get to put it out. I had a great time. So we decided we want to try standpipe fires. So we go to the 3rd floor. We light a fire on the 3rd floor. They're going to hook up on 2, come up to 3, get the door, and then get down the hall, put out the fire. So the first day, atmospheric conditions, you talk about that negative stack effect. They're having trouble hooking up on the 2nd floor because of the smoke.
Ooh, yucky, times 10.
Under the door and down the stairs. So they had to go 45 feet to the fire room. Right? So once they get the fire hooked up, they get it.
And these are brand new guys? These are brand new guys?
Oh, these are guys we never met any of them.
Oh, my goodness gracious. There had to be a pucker factor there.
Oh, it was great. So the second day, the guy that's the engine instructor says, hey, yesterday was kind of tough. We couldn't even see to hook up. So we get this he's got to go 60 feet the second day. And we're at the nurse's station, which is just to the left where that little T is. And it's driving us out of there. But he goes, I'm standing on the staircase, and I'm watching them hook up, and I'm going, oh, this is much better. And he turns around and he looks, and the crack of the door underneath is orange. So when they opened the door, it was 60 feet of fire.
Oh my God.
So there's a kid in Kansas that had the 2.5 off the standpipe that went 60 feet.
With a 2.5. Yeah, that's no joke, man.
You know, and that's, it doesn't have to be that good, but that's the stuff that matters.
Yeah, man.
You checked that door for heat, Tim?
Oh, yeah. Looking out under the door. You know, so live fire training is really what we've got to get back to. And there's too many restrictions to it. You know, we burned a couple of houses up here in Orange County. You know, there was complaints, and you guys are nuts. New Jersey, you can't burn anything anymore. You know, they killed a guy they used a school bus for a burn prop. I mean, killed a guy. And they're like, oh, shit. That's the same. But that's the difference, you know? So you have to be able to give them the information so that they recognize stuff when they do go to a fire. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of this Christiana. They go to 80 to 100 fires a year. Now, granted, a lot of them aren't great fires. You know, they're the kitchen cabinets.
Singles, yeah, singles all day long.
But absolutely.
Go through the motion.
5-6 times a year.
They got a ripper. Yeah, you know? Got a ripper.
And those are the ones. So they get good experience. They go through the routine constantly. They stretch on every phone alarm. So what do they get good at? Stretching.
Yeah, that's right? Good. We should do that more. I say that all the time.
Yeah, it's that stuff that makes the difference, you know? So, but yeah, to answer the question from the gentleman there. So 1 July in RESCUE3, probably 89, I worked a night tour. And between 6 at night and 9 in the morning, we had 20 runs. 18 were fires, and we worked at 9 of them.
Wow. Holy shit.
And
was that 4th of July? Did you say?
It wasn't. It was right after it.
Oh.
The second fire of the night, I went 2 floors in a frame. The staircase let go. I rode all the way down to the basement.
Holy shit.
And I wasn't hurt.
He didn't tap out? No tapping?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't hurt. You know,
and you're in the Bronx. Come on. You know how they are.
Then we worked the day tour, and me and one guy, Brian Stiles, worked the whole 24. We had 2 more fires on the day tour.
Nice.
And the last one, him and I are on the roof of the exposure, holding each other up, laughing at people going, you think we can do something?
We can't do nothing.
So it's 11 fires in 24 hours.
Wow.
1 fifth, 1 second, and the rest are all hands.
Good.
Wow, man.
We got some pictures, Pete? RESCUE3? We got a couple pictures.
Definitely got some RESCUE3 pics here.
It was a fun place, you know, when the fires came.
This is the picture that comes up in the dictionary. Firefighter. Douche. Look at that. Boom.
Johnny Dirt, right? He was the Dirt.
Yeah. Collapse King. So I got a good John O'Connell story. He probably won't like it, but I always thought it was pretty funny.
He has a good stash.
I'm driving to one night.
Stash.
Oh,
finally.
I'm done.
So I'm driving to one night, and we have 7 guys. Got an extra guy. So when I drove, I never drove dressed. I always figured the 30 seconds it took me dressed at the rig. If they needed something, I was still at the rig, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we're backing in the quarters. We get a box up on 10th Avenue and 204th Street, 205th Street. So we're out the door right away, and we end up getting in second due. 5-story corner place, fire out like 3-4 windows on the 3rd floor. So guys scattered, start doing secondary truck work. OV's going up the fire escape. Roofman's waiting for 36 to get their aerial up. Everybody's doing their thing. And especially when you had the extra guy, the chauffeur kind of did what he felt he should do, you know? So I get dressed. I go up the stairs. We had a new officer assigned, and we had a detail that had the hook and rabbit tool. When I get to the fire floor, it's out in the public hallway, the whole public hallway. There's 2 guys wrestling in front of the fire department.
For the line?
2 firemen. 2 firemen.
Yeah.
So I go, that's interesting. So I go by.
Sounds about right.
And I get to the half landing, and the half landing window isn't taken yet. And I'm going, well, that's kind of odd, because a couple of people that went by should have known to take that.
Sure.
So I take out the half landing just in case it starts up the stairs. It's got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
I get up to the floor above the fire, lights out, pretty shitty. And as I go to turn to go in the apartment above the fire, someone runs by me and down the stairs. I'm going, what is going on? So I go in the apartment. There's fire coming up in the kitchen. I make the turn. Now, there should be 3 other people in this apartment up there, the inside team from the rescue.
Yeah.
I do the whole apartment. I ran a solo in the apartment. Go back to the door. Here comes 93 with the second line. By now, the kitchen's going real good. Got fire in one other room, put it all out. And little by little, everybody comes back. And what was funny is we had a dispatcher riding with us, Kevin Kelly, that videotaped it. And I'm going to officer, where'd you guys all go? Well, the guy wrestling on the fire floor was John O'Connell. Somebody told me he shouldn't be there.
Oh, man.
So that started that fiasco. The guy that ran by me as I got to the top of the stairs was the detail from an engine company.
I thought it was somebody in the apartment.
Oh, when he got in the apartment, he heard the Jeopardy clock playing. And when it got to the ding, he left. I couldn't find the officer. He goes, it was getting shitty. I went out the front fire escape, went to the floor above. I go, I'm in here getting killed looking for you. So there's a video of me yelling at him sitting out in the street.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got to get all that somewhere.
Oh, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
I love it.
He got his back, though. He came from RESCUE3, and we're at the Rock the one day. We had a good night. So instead of going back to the firehouse, he goes, we just got to go to the Rock real quick, then I'm done for the day. So he goes there, and we all look like friggin' stumble bums. It's a night tour, nobody shaved. We all look all crapped up, a couple of fires. And here comes this chief that he's supposed to meet. And one of the guys looks, he still has a RESCUE3 patch on his shirt. So the guy goes to reach it, to grab it, and it was Tommy Prin, turns and rips his sleeve off. So the way the Rock was with the corridors, right?
Yeah.
We all dart down the corridor. He's standing there talking to this chief with half a sleeve on. And you can see the chief looking at him. And we're like, oh, man. With that, the door opens. Here come the probies. And we hear this, make way, make way. So we all step aside, too. Because we don't know why they're saying it. Well, we realize it was for us.
It's for you guys. Yeah, of course.
We're like, oh, no, come on by, come on by. And as they're going by, we're going, hey, you should shave. Trim that mustache. And they're looking out of the corner of their eyes at us,
You see that thing on your face there, bud?
Yeah.
You know what?
Before we get to RESCUE3, you did a little stint. You went up to 92 and 44, right? You left the Brooklyn. You went to the Bronx.
Yep. And that's where those complicated details. And so I was in 157. I mentioned to a friend of mine that I was tired of commuting from New Jersey at the time. I said by the end of the year, this is July, I'm probably going to try to go up to the Bronx. And 3 days later, I was detailed to 92 engine.
That keeps happening to you a lot,
That's amazing. He's a really lucky guy, man.
I've never done this before.
The sad thing was I never had even been to the firehouse.
Oh,
I did that.
That always goes over well.
Yeah. And, they were looking for a guy that they were trying to get there. And then I fall out of the sky.
That would play with that black bear? That looks like a black bear.
Rocky the Fire Dog.
Holy Christ.
So, it was a decent reception, but it was a little lukewarm, I guess,
Uh-huh.
So, but as luck would have it, I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do. Nick Mancuso was there, our prior union president.
Yeah.
And pretty funny. I used to work for anybody that needed a day. You needed a day, I'd work for you. So I'm off on a mutual. I used to be in Nick's groups, and he needed off. So I'm working for him while I'm off on a mutual. Now, that doesn't sound bad on the face of it, but I break my finger at a job that night.
Oh, the old 3-way, 4-way / I got to go on medical leave trick.
So at 5 to 9, we get back to the firehouse.
Love that. I love that. The boss
my finger
loves
looks
that.
like a watermelon.
Love it.
So the officer goes, hey, call the medical office and tap out. I'll start on the paperwork. So I call the guy. Goes, yeah. I go, yeah, I got hurt of the fire last night. You know, pretty sure I broke my finger.
Are you on a mutual?
Oh, it gets better. So he goes, all right, where are you working? I go, well, I'm assigned to 157 truck. On an onion skin to 92.
But I'm working at 44.
Like a double onion skin to 44. Working for a guy, but I'm off on a mutual. And he goes, hey, do me a favor, call back after 9 and hang up.
I'm not interested.
I did not want to do it.
Oh,
So I stayed in 92 on an onion skin for a long time and worked in the truck. And,
again with that. Holy, how do you do that?
I've never done this before.
Well, yeah, but I could drive, which was a big thing. I was a spare chauffeur.
Right.
I had to have a lot of time from being in Brooklyn, you know. So I did all right. I ended up getting burned, and right before I got burned, I ended up getting to the truck. And while I was burned, they asked me if I wanted to go to RESCUE3. So after I got out, I was in the burn center for a couple of days. When I got out of that, I went back to the firehouse for probably 4 months, 5 months, and then I went over to RESCUE3.
Who was the captain there when you went there?
Handeboat in 44.
No,
Captain Handeboat. RESCUE3 is Billy Ryan.
Somebody said something about Billy Ryan in there. Huh.
Yeah. So I was well traveled. I worked in 6 companies and was only assigned to 3 of them.
That's a couple of salty guys there.
Hey, Mikey Milner. Mikey Milner keeps saying, where'd that go, Pete? Put up Mikey Milner's question.
Ask Bob to vet the good instructors. That's an important part of firefighting.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. And what else?
Say it again.
Well, I mean, is that the question, Kat? Is that the question,
Yeah,
Kat?
because he asked that question quite a few times.
He said, ask Bob to vet the good instructors. That's an important part of firefighting. Firefighter fighting. I don't know what that means.
Maybe he's drinking his martinis. I don't know what he's doing over there.
Hold
So he's
on.
either asking for a list of good instructors or figuring out how do you tell who the good instructors are.
I don't know what he's talking about.
He had one. He had one a while back as well. That I'm trying to find, but it's too far back at this.
Bob,
point.
who's in this picture? I know the middle guy there.
Pete Lund,
Yeah.
myself, and Connie Tinney. And then going the other way, Ray Graywin and Sean Nelson.
Yeah, I don't remember those guys.
Standing on the roof of a building in Harlem.
Who's the guy who went to the left? He's a big dude, man.
Connie Tinney used to work in 28. Got the, I don't know if it was the Gordon Bennett or one below for getting a guy out of a window. The aerial was like 80 feet down the shaft between the buildings, underneath a pipe that ran between the buildings. And then he used a portable ladder.
No shit.
And went up and got people out.
Fucking crazy shit, man.
Hell of a fireman.
Wow.
I had a 4th along with him. We get to 2-story taxpayer with apartments above. And we get in this place, and he goes, we don't take a fucking window. And there was fire all around us, and probably one of the hottest fires ever in. And with him, and we're like, if the glass fails, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah, because you're just going to make it more intense.
Underneath us, you know? So, yeah, all good firemen there.
Wow. Where's that picture, Petey, of Bob and Lieutenant Lund, and then he has a picture with his son, I believe, right? Where's that picture again? Yeah, that's a great picture, man. That's a great picture.
There you go.
And then Matt posed with my son.
You know what? I had that picture too. I thought I sent it to Pete. Maybe I didn't send it to him. I saw that. That's another great where the two guys, the two sons are doing the same exact picture. I don't think I sent it to you, Pete.
No, sir.
That's a great.
I worked a lot with Pete. What a great guy. Great fire officer.
When did he go to 2? Did he go to 2, Bob?
Yes, he went to 2.
From 3, he transferred to 2?
Yeah.
Oh.
An extra toll.
Nah.
You know?
Yeah, right. That's the entertainment tax.
Absolutely. It was a fun thing. So one of One of my best stories out of RESCUE3, though, is we come back from a fire one probably April Sunday morning. We're sitting in front of the firehouse. I'm with a guy named Danny McDonough. We got the doors, about halfway, and we're going, look at this. Even this place, 7:30 in the morning before the hooting and hollering starts. Even this place ain't bad. We got our cups of coffee, and with that, under the door, pops in this lady, and she goes, "Fireman, would you like some milk for your coffee?" And yanks up her shirt and goes,
Come on!
And we're sitting there staring at our coffee cup.
Oh my God!
Closed the door, threw the coffee cups in the garbage, and went back in the kitchen where we belong.
Can't make that up, bro.
Oh no, it was someplace.
Jeez Louise. My word. Wow. Let me ask you what's going on in this
Hold
photo?
on. What was it yummy? Was it yummy, Bob?
Did you go Did you go nom 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 nom? So who's this?
Timmy Brown, the Fireman 73 engine. Look, I'm wearing turnout pants already because it was getting cold. Long before the job went to him. Used to wear them in the winter. I wore them in Brooklyn when I was, in the wintertime.
So that you just did that on your own? That wasn't a pilot then?
Oh, no, not at all. That's just to keep warm.
Hell yeah.
I might be dumb, but I ain't stupid. So we were vacant building off Melrose Avenue, big O-shaped building. And from the outside, you couldn't even tell you how to fire. You could see some embers coming up over the roof. And he went into the O, and it was out about 35 windows.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
Back when they were burning the vacants like crazy.
Yeah.
So lucky enough to get a shot with him.
So, somebody in the chat is saying that was the breast story that they ever heard.
Yeah, there you go.
See, now they're picking it up a little bit. They were a little weak. They're picking it up a little bit. That's not bad.
Mamma mia.
I like it.
All right, where are we in the timeline, Kev?
So first, I got to hear the story about how when you got injured, you were in respiratory arrest. Was that actually while you were working? What happened?
Oh yeah, we were in the middle of a fire. So it's something, I try to tell people now, I'm probably in better shape now than I was through most of my career.
Mm-hmm.
You're young and stupid. You don't take care of yourself. So I had some lung problems, that I would manage to get away from. Had bronchitis like every winter until I got burned in 1 year, and I missed the winter and it went away. So I'm telling myself I'm getting better. And I had some reaction, and my system just shut down. They found me in respiratory arrest on the floor outside the fire department. A couple of guys dragged me outside. They put a divot under my chin trying to get my jaw unclenched because I basically almost had like a seizure, I guess. Woke up in the burn center, and I wasn't burned, but that was the only sterile room they had. They weren't sure I was intubated. And the funny part of that story is I keep remembering.
The funny part to that story?
Yeah, I'm trying to come out of this morphine haze they got me in, and I keep seeing these Martians standing around looking at me. And I kept going, I don't want to wake up. And I'd go back out. And then finally, about the third time, I realized it was people in gowns.
Right.
Oh, shit.
But, coming out of the morphine, no idea. Just a lot of weird people with big eyes.
I love morphine. I love it.
At me every time I moved.
I love it.
So that was the end.
What was the last thing that you remembered? You're outside the fire department, and what? Just
stopping to put my face piece on.
You stopped to put your face piece on. That was the last thing you remembered.
Yep. It was a messed up fire because they had the wrong address.
Right.
So everybody's down here, then they're all starting yelling and screaming. We get in there. It was just starting to come out the apartment door. I was behind the other guys, the inside team. The first two truck wasn't there yet, because they were all down the block. And whatever it was, one whiff of something, and that was it. And really, it was probably an accumulation of all the years I didn't take care of myself.
Right.
When they sent me for all the lung tests and everything, and some of my numbers, my highest number was 43%.
Wow.
And I used to go see Dr. Prezant. What a gentleman.
And
lung
guy.
Yep. So I go down one time to him, and he used to tell me, make sure you do your peak flow every morning, So when you come to me, you can say, oh, this is what I'm at. This is what I've been doing. So the morning I'm going to see him, I blow like a 110. I should be 700.
No
so
shit.
I go to the medical office, how you doing, Doc? He goes, hey, how you doing? Oh, pretty good. He goes, you take your peak flow today? I go, yeah, it's like about a 110. He stops, he looks at me.
It's like, are you alive?
He takes his glasses off. He goes, if I told my other doctors about you firemen, they would think I'm trying to kill you. He goes, most people, if they blew a 110, they would go to the hospital. You got in the car and drove down to see me. Because I don't understand you.
And you're going back to work tomorrow.
Yeah. So I ended up, he took care of me. I ended up in a long-term detail that wasn't working out because a couple of bosses were starting to fight amongst each other. And he put me back on medical leave until I found a place to go. So he definitely took care of me,
Right. But that was the last time you were in the firehouse after that job, right? That was it?
Well, until I went in the help team. Then I stayed at RESCUE3 while I was in the help team. And the help team was great because it was a license to go take pictures wherever I wanted.
Oh, that's right.
I used to do the 4-borough tour at night. I had a car with a radio, a page, and a camera. I mean,
who's better than you, man?
Oh, it was good.
That's the ultimate job.
The job let me get ready to go.
Right.
They could have thrown me out day one. And it was one of the things Prezan told me. He goes, no, line of duty injuries, you let us know when you're getting ready. And he did. He took care of me all along. So
you think you would have done more time if you didn't get hurt? You think you would have done more?
Oh, yeah.
To do the 5-decade thing, remember?
I was 2011 was my target. I had just started studying. I had taken a 1 lieutenant's test just to see the test, but I was into the books. So when I got hurt, I stopped studying. I still passed the next test. And I would have done well.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would. I would guess I would have been in the top 100 because it had gotten to that point. I realized that it's a young man's game. So I really started hitting the books.
Flashlight is good.
Yeah, right.
There ain't no doubt about it.
So ended up with a little shortcut,
Yeah. Would you have wanted to come back to SOC as an officer, or would you rather stay in the front lines? What do you think?
You know what? SOC really wasn't full blown at that point.
Right.
And like I used to tell my bosses, I worked a lot with a guy named Mike Cogan. And, Mike was more into the tech. He wanted to go to fires too, but he was more into the tech rescue stuff, and the collapse stuff. And I told him, listen, I'll never embarrass you by not knowing how to use any of this shit.
Right, but that's not your main thing.
If I never go to another one of these, I'd be happy.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm the same way.
It would have depended on what was available, I mean, I think the SOC companies are great, but it's also good being first too.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
First to work. Did you work with Johnny Hopkins? Johnny Hopkins?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Love him, man. Love him. Great guy, man. He lives right by me here. So
there's so many guys that you cross paths with over the years, and it's just you wonder where they are and what happened to them.
I know, it's funny
who stayed. I'm walking through a flea market in Pennsylvania and bump into a guy I hadn't seen in like 15 years.
That's great.
And it's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And it's good.
It's funny, Bob, that we were talking, when I called you during the last few weeks, it doesn't matter. For some reason, when you're on the job, you run into somebody you haven't seen in 20 years. It's as if no time has gone by, right? It's like you start right away. How you doing? What's happening? Let's get together, whatever. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it is weird.
That's the thing, like with the teaching, with the FDIC, you meet so many people and then you connect with some of them, but some you don't talk to for years.
Right.
And then your phone rings, you're right back where you were.
Right.
I do a lot of teaching at the Fire Department Training Network, which is Disneyland for firemen. If you ever get a chance to talk to guys from out there, it's a private training place out in Indy. This is the original 5 troublemakers
crew.
From the FDNY. And we did stuff that no one had ever done before.
I was saying, Bob, to touch on that a little bit quick, you were saying that you kind of started the hot classes, correct?
Yeah, fire engineering or Penwell bought the FDIC from the International Association of Fire Service Instructors, and we were having a meeting trying to decide what we could do different. And Tom Brennan was there, Bill Manning, a couple other guys, and I go, we should do hands-on training. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, we'll just do large-scale training. These guys are coming in for the week class. We'll bring them in a day early, and we'll offer them stuff they can't get at home. So the first year, we did 7 events. 5 of them were in the parking lot next to the convention center. And one was a live burn off-site. And it pretty funny story with the live burn. So Penwell's petrified we're going to kill somebody during live burn.
Understandable.
Because they don't understand.
Right.
So anytime there's a news crew or a TV station, I have to go. So I got to drop what I'm doing, get in a car, drive there before they'll do anything with the news crew. So I do an interview. They watch a fire, guys stretching lines, breaking windows, pulling a victim out. And news crew's going. So I'm getting ready to leave. And this woman walks up to me. And she's dressed to the nines, the high heels, the short skirt, the blouse open, the hair about 18 feet above her head. And she goes, I work for radio station W, whatever it is, can I do an interview with you? So I go, yeah. So she goes, what are they doing here? So I go through the whole thing, we're doing a live burn. It's a quiet house, yada, yada, yada. I go, hey, look, they're getting ready to do a fire. Would you like to go watch? Can we? Absolutely. Come on. So we walk around the back of this house. We go in with the safety line. I said, so this is the safety line. That protects everybody. Let's walk across the hall where they're going to light the fire. So we walk across the hall, and Mike Lombardo, in the picture there next to me, was the commissioner of Buffalo. He's my igniter. So he starts the fire, and I'm explaining to this lady. All right, so this room's going to start burning. The smoke's going to collect at the ceiling. That's why they tell you to get low. We back out in the hallway. The room starts burning. Now we go into the safety room with the safety line. And all she keeps going is, this is amazing. This is amazing. So now the fire's rolling out of the room, heading down the hall. And I'm telling her, engine's going to come down here. Then they're going to search. She goes, how long can we stay? And I look up, and the top 3 inches of her hairdo is off there. And I go, we got to go right now. We can't stay any longer. I go, we got to go right now.
Stay low and go.
We get out past the safety line, and now we're out on the back deck, and she's going, that was amazing. And all I can do is look at her head.
Oh, my
God. $200 hairdo is worth about 38 cents now.
Well, it's funny because Mike A in the chat said, did she melt when she saw the stash? But apparently she melted for other reasons.
So, but yeah, so we were successful for 7 years, and then I got on the wrong side of the politics, and I got fired.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Bob, me and you have a lot in common. You know that? I definitely feel...
You still get out to Indy when the show goes?
So I go to that fire department training network, and he runs a class prior to the FDIC. So I stay one extra night, see some of the people that I'm still friendly with, that they hadn't seen my wanted poster in the post office there. So I got a lot of friends in the fire department out there, and through the fire department training network.
Well, you're doing something in Kansas, right? And Wichita. When are you doing that? I saw that.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be canceled.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, the COVID is.
What a shame.
He's holding off hope, but it's 800 people.
Yeah.
Get
that vaccine out there. Let's go. Come on.
It's crazy.
Kansas is an interesting place. So that one picture that you were commenting on earlier, me standing there. So that's Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah. Hold on, I got you.
It's just an interesting story because Wichita, Kansas was a city.
This guy. How freaking photogenic can one firefighter be?
That is the picture. I mean,
so their city of worth 350,000 people, right? Didn't have a truck company.
What?
They had one ladder truck downtown that was cross-staffed by the rescue, and 2 quints in the outlying areas, but there was no truck culture. And at the end of the first year of the FDIC, when we're flying out, I see 2 guys laying on the floor, and I go, hey, where are you guys from? They go, Wichita, Kansas. I go, oh, did Job send you here? They go, Our job wouldn't send us anywhere. They wouldn't even give us time off to come here. We're here on our own dime.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, really? I said, that's pretty commendable. So I took their names and I made them volunteers. So we'd bring them out every year. They'd load the bus, and then they'd be a student.
Right. That's good.
So they ended up bringing me out there to start their truck company work. And you go online now and watch them. They are some group of, they've got some impressive trucks. They're making grabs left and right with VES. They do a tremendous amount of vertical ventilation.
How many trucks are they running now, Bob?
I think they're up to 5.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, and it's just such a change from what they were, and it's one of our success stories. The other places, Aurora, Colorado, pretty much the same thing. Didn't have a truck culture. We met that guy at the Fire Department Training Network, and he asked, "How do I start it?" And I said, "Well, you're a truck captain. Write down what you want your guys to do." That's the start of it. So he wrote down his stuff, and that started the whole process. And once he started using that, what did the other truck companies say? What are you doing? Can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, right. That's how it works. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Went all the way to where it's now taught in their rookie school.
So
wow, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Years,
like the ones in Kansas when they had no truck companies. How did you, I guess their staffing is different than ours, right? So how do you fit the FDNY type of truck work into a smaller department like that? How do you implement it? I guess if they're
task orientated, and then you have to teach them what steps have to be first.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on Christiana right now, right? We have writing assignments for all the rigs based on 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the same jobs have to get done, but if you got 4, you're real busy. If you got the extra guy, that's one more guy you got doing something. But you have to start somewhere.
Right.
I know a couple of guys that have gone on teaching, when they go to a rural place and they teach them a 6-man truck. We did a class where they had this all written out. We said, who gets the roof? They go, the second due truck gets the roof. We go, oh, where do they come from? They go, we never get one.
So nobody gets the roof.
So nobody gets the roof.
It has to come like on a postcard. They have to give them 3 days notice.
We say it all the time, right, Bob? We kill it with manpower, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
It's incredible when you start talking to these, especially me and Kevin. We talk to these things.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I agree.
Third alarm in a private house.
That's
What's everybody doing?
Getting in the way.
Yep.
How many guys can you fit in the fire building, Kev, when it comes
5
to the
more.
squad?
5
At
more.
least 5 more.
We always say, you grab the building, you turn on the side, everybody
shake it out.
Fire falls out. That's what you can do with the manpower.
One other question I wanted to ask you, Bob. Since you first got injured, because I know that to some degree the lungs can regenerate. So you said you're in the best health you've ever been. Have your lungs come back to some degree?
Tremendously.
Wow, that's
great.
good.
Tremendously.
That's
well,
great.
You know what? I wear a mask a lot more.
I was just going to say, you probably wear the mask a lot, right?
I wish cheetahs were still a thing, because then I'd always have fresh air.
Mm.
But yeah, the lungs are tremendous. I walk every day. I have 125-pound St. Bernard. This is this time of year. He drags me around. But I walk mile and a half, 2 miles every day. Rain, snow, cold. I'm always out there doing something. I'm still splitting my firewood by hand.
Nice. Me too.
So I'm trying.
You got grandbabies?
What's that?
You got grandbabies?
7.
Oh,
My daughters are in competition.
That'll keep you working.
Absolutely. So I'm trying, but age is creeping up. I'm getting there now. I'm actually Christiana. I've been nominated for an assistant chief position again. And that would be good because that'll get me off the rigs.
Right.
And I got to take that step. You don't want to stay till somebody tells you stay too long.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, on your own terms. Different. If you rather go out on your own terms or go wherever you're going to go on your own terms.
So Pete, put that one picture of my son and me up, please.
I was just about to. Good call.
See if you can find the other one. It's nighttime. 2 black helmets.
Yep. I know which one you're talking about. Stand by.
Yeah. So that's my son, Michael. He's on in Wilmington now. So he was a runner in college, and he was training for the Olympics, and he got hurt. and he missed the Olympic trials, and he missed a year of training, and he didn't know what he wanted. All he wanted to do was run, and he didn't know if he could ever run like that again. He was running 90 miles a week.
Wow.
Whoa.
You know, his Sunday shakeout was 15, 18 miles. So I took him to Christiana one day, had a great day, no fires, but we ran around. We went to where they had a third alarm, did some runes buffing, and he was hooked. So he ends up joining. This is the night he got voted in. I was the engine boss. He was my nozzle man. And we go for a reported fire in the closet where I keep my lawnmower. So the possibilities are endless.
The old I keep my lawnmower in the closet trick.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, we pull up. We had 3 townhouses going.
Nice.
So his first fire was a real good fire, you know. And he's what keeps me going.
Is that why he don't have a number yet? Is that what happened?
He doesn't have a number yet. Yep. So it's a pretty interesting place. When you join, if you're not qualified to ride on the rigs, you get a Proby shield. Once you're qualified to mask up, you get a blank shield. And then when you go to a couple of fires and train, you get your numbers.
Oh, wow.
So it's a throwback place.
That's pretty cool, man.
4,000 fire runs, 11,000 EMS runs.
Wow.
And, 50 good cuts a year and 80 to 100 fires.
Wow. You never think, such a small place like that.
Yeah, right.
105,000 people, 38 square mile district.
Holy mackerel.
It's like, what's that place, Kev? That small place?
Kentland.
Kentland.
Yep. Prince George County. We're a little closer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's great, man.
Bob, do you keep in touch with anybody from the FDNY still? Like who's
we have retired guys lunch up here because there was a lot of guys from RESCUE3 up here. Mm-hmm. I've gone to a couple, but because of the lung issue, I haven't been inviting. Like there's one tomorrow. I'd love to go, but I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
Well, when this first started, the COVID, I self-quarantined. We were doing a class for the state fire chiefs. I drove home on March 13th. I didn't really interact with anybody for 72 days.
Wow.
I just stayed home.
With your lung issues,
you're like the main.
And it was such an unknown. I'm old and I had lung problems. Well, that was 2 of the things they said.
Yeah, right. No doubt.
So, I kind of stayed to myself for a long time. Then ventured out to the grocery store with my wife once or twice.
Right.
And then slowly worked back into it. And I'm just being cautious now. 12 guys sitting in a bar, I'd love to go, but I probably shouldn't.
What's the great thing about this whole thing, Bob? Like, you wouldn't even have to wear a mask with that mustache. Nobody would know you weren't wearing a mask, man.
I went my COVID test today, so I can get my surgery on Tuesday.
Funny you should mention that. One of our viewers sent me an email. It happens to be Bob back in his Oklahoma days, believe it or not. Here it is. Wow. I didn't
Crembo.
I didn't know.
Crembo. That was Tom and Jerry. I
didn't know you played guitar, man. That's awesome.
I need a guitar string.
Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Crembo.
I need a new guitar string there, nephew.
Pete, it might be that time, Pete.
Hey, you know what?
Bob is suited for this time. This is his time.
100% positive that it is time for the old school tip of the day.
Oh, boy. Do it, Bob. What do you got for us, kid?
Well, we could go on forever with this, too, but couple of things for new officers. And this is one of the things I think, the company officer is the backbone of the fire service. They make the decisions day in, day out that either keep guys alive or get guys hurt. And I can say it because I was a chief, everybody thinks the chief's the guy in charge. It's the company officers. And they're the ones that are going to set the tempo on the fire ground. So one of the things you got to do with your crew is talk about the things that you're not supposed to do so you know what to do when you have to do them, right? So what does that mean? So you got a young group of firefighters that told you always have to stay with your partner. So you go in a house and you're looking for multiple kids and you find one kid. Who goes? Right? Does one of you leave? Do both of you leave? Because the book says we're both supposed to go. And there's some chiefs that actually believe that. And I always ask them, how many kids you got at home, Chief? You all right with us leaving one of yours? So how do you handle the things that you're not supposed to do? As an engine officer, do you take the line with you to find a fire? Or do you go on your own? How comfortable are you going without the line? How do I do that? You got to work on the things that are hard to do because they go against the normal, fire service wisdom of the day. So if you go back to the victim one, I'm searching with my barman and we find a victim. I send the barman out with it and I stay. And I keep looking. And I transfer my barman to command. I go, ladder 12 to command, Fireman Smith is coming out with a victim. And then if Fireman Smith doesn't show at the door, hopefully command will tell me that, and then I'll go find him. But I'll watch him get to the top of the stairs. But we're not leaving other kids because we found one. But you got to talk about that ahead of time. You have to figure out how you're going to handle that. The same with searching without the line. You get to the top of the stairs. There was a fire down in Delaware last year where smoke was boiling out one window. They go up the stairs, the line, the officer, they go into that room. They can't find the fire. It's at the other end of the house. That was the only open window in the house. So you have to be able to go find the fire on your own. Maybe today you go 2 feet, tomorrow you go 10 feet. But these are all things that you have to try to get yourself acclimated to doing. And the best way is at the kitchen table. Just throw out what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? What do you think if we try this? Odd little stuff, pulling ceilings. Where do you start? Oh, over the fire area. Now I'm looking for any hole in the ceiling that was there before we started. Hi-hats, light fixtures, pipes going through the ceiling. I'm going to start there because the fire is going to get there way before it burns through a ceiling. So use the natural openings. It's just much easier to start that. Forcible entry. Learn one way, right? You don't need all the different tricks and techniques. I approach the door the same way today as I have for probably 35, 40 years. Learn one way and learn it well. The basics are what's going to keep you alive. So hopefully some of those are good for people. I know we're running out of time. So thank you very much.
Good job, Bob. Excellent. Love it.
I like it.
Great work, Bob.
Quiet like crickets. We're like, holy shit, Bob's really
Yeah,
on.
we were like I'm like, what? That's a good, we don't do the 2 in, 2 out thing, but a lot of guys we talk about that, and those are some tough questions that people maybe aren't asking at the table. And when it happens, like you said, they're going to bail out, and that's not the time to be doing that if you have an opportunity to discuss it beforehand.
Yeah, even command, right? How many places the first engine officer has to take command?
Yeah, absolutely.
Follow project, the Mayday project. What is that telling us? His original numbers, 70% of Maydays happened when the company officer stayed outside. Now it's dropped. It's in the 30s, but it's still, you're sending guys in unsupervised. So there's so many little things, and it's everybody they want to change stuff so that, hey, I can be the guy that did this. 7/8 versus 15/16, right?
Yeah, right.
7/8 America's nozzle. Yeah, if you don't go to fires, 15/16, you're going to make the difference. But it's a lot of it's opinions. But I always tell guys, if you're going to argue something, you have to have both sides. If you want to have a discussion, I have to have your side and know it. I have to have my side and know it, because if not, I can't argue it.
Bob, we say it all the time, but we had a show where I think it was Chief Sulka was going up against one of these guys, hit it hard from the yard, and they were on stage, right? And of course, FDNY, right? Exterior attack, bullshit, all this crap. But again, the more I learn and the more I'm doing this type of stuff, we kill it with manpower, right? I'm showing up with 50 guys in 3 minutes. What are you going to do if you're 110? You got one rig, one engine with 2 guys, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and it's an angry fire at this time, right? So you might throw it in the window, knock it down, get the anger out of it a little bit, and then maybe make a push or something like that. But
maybe the cavalry gets there.
Right, right, exactly. But you could sell me on that, because now that I've been, but beforehand, I would never think that way. You know what I mean? So it is, like you said, if you see both that
really thinking, tell them it's the 3-man engine, right? Fire out the front door, and a lady hanging out the window on the second floor.
Yeah, right.
What do you do?
You got to start stretching, get a ladder. Who's at the pumps, right? All this stuff has,
right?
yeah,
but if
has to
another one,
happen.
you better talk about it before you get to that point, right? Because the chauffeur can just lay in the front yard and throw water in the front door, and 2 guys can get the woman.
Right.
Or the officer can get the woman, and the fireman can lay in the front yard, and the guy can give you water. There's a lot of variables, but someone better talk about them before you turn the corner, and you have that.
Right.
Because if not, it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, banging into each other, and you don't have much time.
Yeah, and a lady jumping.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like a Chinese fire drill. Oh,
he can say that.
I'm allowed to say that. My wife's Asian, so there you go.
I love you a long time.
Oh, my word. My word.
Great show.
All right, Capt.
Mr. Pressler, thank you so much.
Nice
Very
work.
informative.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally were able to make it work.
Back and fall to the bullpen.
Yeah, we'll have to get him back. We'll have to when he's got the new eyeballs. He's getting cataract surgery this week.
I'm gonna end up with one, and they're gonna shut it down. I'll be walking around walking into it.
He'll be walking in a circle.
I was gonna say, be making a lot of left turns or something. I don't know what's happening.
All right, Petey.
Yeah. Kev, you have any shout outs?
I don't have any shout outs tonight. I will tell you, I told the boys today, I'm working on I'm hard at work in a new segment. Ooh. A lot of research going on, but it's going to be, I think you guys are really going to love it. Okay. I haven't even told Pete and Lou yet. Hot off the presses, coming soon.
All right. Louis, how about you, bud?
Well, the lighters are 99% done. So next week they should be ready to ship. Bob, did you see our new lighter? The flame comes out the window of the brownstone.
Comes out the third floor window.
Look at that. Very nice.
we got it. We got them all, Bob. We'll send you one.
Mr. Pressler, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give before we go to our shameless plugs?
I want to thank everyone that's put up with me over the years. I was talking with one of the guys the other night, and he says, well, they need assholes sometimes. That's why we wanted you to come back. I'm not sure that was a compliment or not.
I think there's a compliment.
We definitely are in the same boat there, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for everybody. I'm still having fun. I get out of my COVID, check today, and I tell my wife I'm on my way to pick up my grandson. As I turn out of the parking lot, there's this column off to the left, and I call her back and said, "You're going to have to go get him."
Taking it in.
Taking it a job.
They
Nice.
turned the shit out of some factory complex in Middletown, New York tonight.
Oh, nice.
A hell of a fire. So got a few pictures, something more to teach with,
Nice.
So
nice, man.
What do you got, Riffy?
Riffy gave it to us.
That's it. That's all I got.
It's me now, bud.
Hit it.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever fine audio podcasts are found, you should also be going to youtube.com/Gettin Salty Experience and taking out your favorite digit. I like this one right here, and hitting the like, subscribe, and share button. You know what? It helps us a lot when you guys do that. It helps us spread the word. Please tell your friends about the show. Tell your moms. Tell your old lady, to send a picture in a thong, so on and so forth. And then head on over to
send it.
Also, head on over to Instagram, where you would find us at Salty Dog Inc., where Mr. Refrano is furiously curating photos to show us all the saltiest
Curating
fires.
means stealing, Bob.
I resemble that remark.
Poaching. I like to say poaching, maybe.
Poaching. And, of course,
borrowing is a much nicer word.
We also do a lot of last-minute show info on there, so check us out there if you guys are on the gram, as the kids are calling it. And, of course, head on over to GettinSaltyApparel.com. Get all your firefighter apparel, accessories, toiletry kits, shot glasses, that lighter, this old lady's box T-shirt. Come on.
We got a lot of crap, Bob.
Come on, it's Christmas time.
Good.
Let's go. Let's make it a good one. And last but not least, guys, hey, if you have a question for us for our Q&A shows, email us at gettinsaltyexperience@gmail.com. And guys, I have to say, that was quite the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent. All righty, fellas. Thanks,
Right,
Bob. Appreciate it.
Great job tonight, Bob. I
Yeah, man.
appreciate
Stay
it.
low and go, fellas.
All right, we'll see you at the big one.
Cheers, boys.